ready?
Oh, I'm so excited for this interview.
Why are you excited?
Because I remember last week when you brought the book and showed our viewers, and then I found out this week we get to meet the author, and I tried to obtain a copy of this book.
Did you?
I did. I tried because I wanted Dr. Smith to sign it.
Oh, get out.
Yes, so I tried, but I had to order it. So I ordered it online, but everyone who's just tuning in, we have Dr. Hara Wright-Smith. She is the author of African Americans of Wilmington's Eastside, and she wrote this incredible book talking about the history of Wilmington's Eastside. Yes, so welcome, Dr. Smith.
Thank you for having me.
Yes,
I'm excited.
And before we get started, I'm gonna need you to sign that for me. All right. Yeah, before we get started.
I actually, I went and I called, so I have a friend who is the library specialist at Brandywine 100 Library.
Okay.
And I reached out to her and I said, you know, am I able to obtain a copy of the book yet? She said it's on order. All the public libraries in the state of Delaware have it on order.
Wow.
So it will be available, but if you want to purchase it online, get your copy online, there is an online version available as well. And, now
Now we're ready to get started.
now we're ready to get started.
Dr. Smith, like, what was your idea with this? This book is amazing.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it, and the reason why I did it was because little do many people know, about 15 years ago, I finished my doctoral work, but I did my studies, my research on the east side of Wilmington. I am a graduate of the University of Pennsylvania, so in my doctoral program, I wanted to study black churches on the east side and their contributions to neighborhood revitalization, and how and ways the churches contributed economically to the community and things of that nature. Well, lo and behold, what I learned through my work, after I finished my doctoral work, there was a lot of themes that came from talking to the elders of the community, individuals who family members have long passed, but generations later are talking about. And one of the themes was the East Side was a thriving community, socially and economically, during segregation.
Right.
And I knew there was another story to tell, even though I finished my doctoral work. And so 15 years later, I decided to finish that story and uncover the images and the history of people that may not have been told otherwise. So I'm really excited about that because I'm lifting up now the families and stories of families generations past.
And the history is so strong. I had the chance to pull up a few pages. I touched on the chapter about small businesses.
Yes.
As a small business owner, I own a restaurant in North Wilmington.
Wonderful.
So I was able to pull that chapter up right online, and that was so fascinating to me, and the history that we have, and so many small business owners.
Yeah, well,
so many.
Absolutely.
I mean, not just restaurant owners, but we also had dentists and barbershops and funeral homes, so many.
Absolutely. And French Street was, from a historical perspective, it was lined with black-owned businesses during segregation. So the book covers the early 1900s through the 1960s. And at that time, of course, it was the Jim Crow era.
Right.
And African Americans were limited to where they could live. So East Side became an enclave of sorts for blacks because that was the section of town that blacks could live and buy homes. Well, there were a lot of homeowners there, right? As are today. But at the same time, what I uncovered was, you're right, they had black-owned businesses, all lined French Street, Poplar Street, Walnut Street.
Yes.
You have black physicians, black dentists like Dr. Pico. You have Leon Anderson, you know, and Dr. Milburn, who's a dentist. I mean, it was countless business owners. To your point, black-owned business owners that were in the community at that time. And interestingly enough, I just want to say this as well, what I learned in my research was that, and all those photos are in the book of the doctors and lawyers and teachers that I'm talking about. At the time of Jim Crow, they had to wear many hats. Right. Because I call it, you know, they were the politics of representation. Right. They were physicians in the day, civic leaders at night, right? And so they always knew that while they had professions and were role models to the community itself and contributed to it, they also had a purpose around civil rights and fighting for unjust laws that were impacting African Americans in the community at the time. So that was just amazing to me, and they did it strategically. Yes. So you have like John O. Hopkins, I don't know if many people know about John O. Hopkins. He was one of the most influential African Americans in the city of Wilmington during segregation. He owned the only black movie theater.
I saw that. I saw, and what was so crazy about that was you're like, that was here on the east side.
It was on the east side, right?
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. Now where was it? Where was it at?
Yeah, so his was on French Street.
Right on French Street.
Yep, the 1100 block of French Street at the time, and he had 2 blocks, and so you'll see the photos in there. He owned it. And the book also includes the only, and I think this for the family, they revealed it to me, and I feel honored to have been published it, the ownership certificate for the hotel, or for the movie theater at the time. But John O. Hopkins was key because he and others decided that they needed to also be on city council.
Yes.
So he served on city council for almost 30 years so that he could create jobs for African Americans, and improve the livelihood for many families that lived on the east side, and to change legislation at that time.
The key word you say was strategic. And one of my favorite parts of this book was the educators, and when you see, and this book came timely because the mayor is about to, he announced that he's about to put $30 million on in the east side and in New Swedes area. And he talked about the vibrant history that the east side has, right?
Yes.
And when you look at it, like one of the big pillars in there is Howard High School.
Yes.
Like everyone came out of Howard High School.
Yes, indeed. That's right, Ivan. And because Howard High School was the only school that African Americans could attend, but the entire state of Delaware.
Right.
So if you were black and lived in Lower Delaware and wanted to go to high school during segregation, you had to make your way to Wilmington to come to Howard High School.
I didn't know that.
Yes,
Wow.
indeed. In the community who allowed me to print those because she was part of the class of '53. Well, why is that significant? Class of *53 is significant because it was one of the last class of students before the Jim Crow laws were changed in 1954, Plessy versus Ferguson, that made white and black schools unconstitutional, the separation of white and black. So at Howard High School, the class of 1953 was the last class that was a segregated class in the high school.
Wow.
Yeah.
I also saw in the book the Negro Motorist Green Book. Yeah, do you know about that, Vin?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. And I was able to read that, a few pages of that too.
Yes.
Why don't you tell our viewers a little bit about that?
So the Green Book was founded by Victor Green in 1936. He maintained this publication every year for 30 years. Why that's important is because he was a businessman, and he understood the fact that blacks during Jim Crow could not dine, could not socialize, could not lodge in white-owned institutions.
Right.
And so for musicians like Lionel Hampton, who's in the book, and others who are traveling, had to only stay at black establishments.
Right.
So the Green Book was the travel guide for African Americans.
Right.
And it was recommended that you carry it if you're going to stay, if you're going to have safe travel.
Safe travel.
Right, that's the key.
Right.
And that you'd look in that book to find what hotels you want to stay in, where you wanted to go to restaurants and dine and socialize. 2 businesses from the East Side are noted in there. One is the Lawson Hotel, which was on Poplar Street, by the way, 208 Poplar. Female-owned business, Irma Lawson. Her family allowed me to publish her photograph because she owned the Lawson Hotel, and she's in the Green Book for that reason. So Lionel Hampton stayed at her hotel because he was limited to where he could stay when he was traveling as a musician. So
Was Delaware State University in the Green Book? Because I remember someone saying, I was talking to, I want to say, Tina Betts. I want to say it was Tina Betts. That was talking about when black musicians used to come to Delaware, like there was nowhere to stay in Dover except Delaware State University.
Right. And it probably is, particularly if it was certainly during the 1950s and 60s, right? And so yes. So the other East Side business, however, that's in there is Burton's Tonsorial Parlor, which is the old barbershop.
The old barbershop, right.
There were tonsorial parlors at that time,
right.
So the Green Book was just significant for that reason. And you know what's interesting to me though is the East Side, while I'm really proud to be the ambassador to lift up the history of this community that has not been quite told this way. I really think it's also important to talk about this as an American story.
Yes.
Because Jim Crow segregation was a national phenomenon more than a phenomenon, it was a reality for many African Americans. And as a result of urban renewal policies and a lot of federal government policies that supported segregated communities at that time. And so these are representations. The East Side is a representation of many Black communities, Metro Black communities across the nation that have experienced change. Some of us in the younger generations, we see the East Side the way it is today.
Right.
But it was not always. It was a place that was different at its time.
Right.
And it's not only important for me to talk about the past, but what the potential for this community has for the future, right?
Absolutely, and you shine a positive light on that. Now, what was the inspiration for writing this book?
Well, I will tell you, my inspiration was, I had multiple inspirations. One is the fact that I'm a longtime member of Bethel AME Church, which is at 6 and Walnut Street.
We're going to miss that guy, aren't we?
We miss him.
We're going to miss that guy.
Bishop Beeman, we miss him.
Yeah.
So,
We're going to miss that guy.
so I've been a member for nearly 30 years, to be honest with you. And so I'm very familiar with the East Side because of that. And again, as I mentioned, I did my doctoral work on the East Side, looking at the churches there. My husband's family is from the East Side. So those were my inspirations for wanting to come back to this community and to tell another story that is important to be in the archives of not just the history for the city, which is extremely important, but the history for this nation, to lift up the fact that the city of Wilmington is a key contributor to the stories that are being told nationally.
Absolutely.
Can we find later more books on the East Side, on the West Side, North Side?
Well, I've been asked.
Or Chicago.
Yes,
or
I was asked, right? Yes, am I going to do that? Right. So this book touches only on what I was able to capture in 127 pages, right?
Right.
There's more to tell.
Right.
I know there's families going to say, well, why wasn't I in the book, right?
Like, I got 127 pages.
I only had 127 pages. I tried to do my best, right?
Right.
I would love to do a part 2 in other parts of the city. And even across the nation for Black communities that want to be lifted up this way.
Yeah.
I'm just glad that the city of Wilmington, I'm a native Delawarean, right? I'm from Newcastle County, born and raised, as I had mentioned. I'm just proud to be a steward of this and have done this for the city of Wilmington. But yeah, I can see part 2, part 3.
I see a movie. I see a documentary. I see that in the near future. And this is an amazing book again. You can get this book on Amazon. Is there anywhere else they can get this book?
Yes, so the book is available on Amazon.com, Walmart.com, so online purchase only, Barnes & Noble, Arcadia Publishing. I was just told that Target just sold out, but all the other venues or outlets you can get the book.
Let me hold $1.
Thank you. Well,
Dr. Smith, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much for coming on. We wish you the best of luck and promise you'll come back again.
I certainly will.
Yes.
Get your copy. I'll sign it for you.
I think what I want to do is maybe it's Black History Month, but every day is history, right, for all of us. I would love to have you back, even if it's just to speak more about Black history.
I would.
I think this is very important. And again, thank you so much for blessing me with this book. And I don't know what made you reach out to me, but just sending it, she sent it a month ago, and I was like, oh, let me see what this is. I think Dennis and I was at work, and it was like, oh my God, this is amazing. So again, thank you so much. And,
thank you.
And this is very important for the community and for Delaware.
I see it as a coffee table book. I purchase it. I want the families to be talking with each other. Share it with your children and generations to come.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Love it.